Good morning. It's a beautiful Tuesday. Right now, it's just after 9 o'clock. We are live on Facebook. So if you are tuning in on Facebook, make sure that you smash the share button. Let me know in the comments what you have going on today. And then we're going to be talking with Dr. Aaron Chapa about stress. We're going to be talking about health and nutrition, how that can help your everyday life, and maybe if that can even help ease your stress. I'm going to throw us onto the FM now, and we're going to have some fun. Here we go.
Abundant Life Christian School.
Good morning. This is KHEA Radio 99.5 FM. This is Kickstart. My name is Gardy, and I am very excited because we have Dr. Aaron Chapa here in studio where we're going to be talking about health, nutrition, living well. Dr. Chapa, how's it going? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, my friend. How are you this fine morning?
I'm doing really good. You know, yesterday was a good day. So far today, again, it's going to be a good day. I'm feeling it.
Well, it starts with a good feeling. You know, I got a feeling. I think there's a song that goes like that.
There is, yeah.
Today's going to be a good day. So, I definitely love it when the sun's shining, but I'll take any day that I'm upright and get to share a message of hope and wellness and educate people how to live better, be better, and stay better. So I will take it. And I'm excited to be here and loving, being on the show, being present with all of our listeners. And just, it's a pleasure to serve, and so I'm glad that people are tuning in. We're going to be talking about stress today, so I can't wait to kind of launch into some of that, and love to get some feedback. How's everybody feeling this morning? So like, share, comment, let us know what's up. If you've got some questions specific to health, wellness, and how you can live better, be better, and stay better, tune in to the show today, or reach out to our office, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, justlivewell.com, or give us a phone call, 281-554-8600.
Dr. Chapa, whenever you talk to people, what's the feedback? Are people feeling stressed?
Yes, I would say that it's actually day to day. Like some days, it's almost like all the people that are really stressed out and worried and fearful come in, and then have other days where people are uncertain and the fear of the unknown, I guess, is kind of like an underlying overtone. And then some days I get, people that are like, well, we're all going through it. And so there's really, I'm stressed, but we're going to just go through it. And that's kind of the attitude. And so it's everybody's coming at us at a different place in their walk. And, I'm very thankful that, going through this stress that, I have the Holy Scriptures to guide me. The GPS of life is God's perfect Scripture, and I find that when in doubt, Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path, is a fantastic Scripture to kind of retain to memory and write on the tablet of your heart. And whenever we get down in the dumps, I find that the passages of God's Word are alive and well. It's almost like God knew that we would have struggle and trouble, and those of us that have the ability to lean on the Word have something to lean on, and we can go through tough times and good times and challenging times all the same because we know where our help comes from. So everybody comes in a little different stage, and I heard something on the news yesterday that, unfortunately, not everybody's handling it well. The two major industries that are up right now are alcohol and marijuana. So, sad to say that, but what that means is that people are dealing with a high level of stress, anxiety, and depression, and they're reaching to, foreign substances to get the bottom line managed so that they can function. I heard something, other, cases of, domestic violence is up, and people are not sure how to deal with the stress plus to be, quarantined to their homes. So there is an aftermath, and there is an effect that this is having on our bodies and will have on our bodies as the continued months go down. So we don't know all the effects this is going to have until it happens. And so right now we're just taking it day by day. But one thing's for sure is we're all going through it together. And for those that don't have a group to join forces with, we want to encourage you. Be a part of our group. We want you to feel like you've got a community, a tribe, if you will, of people that love the Lord, that believe in, that have hope, that have solutions. I had a patient come in. She went to, 7 different doctors over the course of 5 years, and no one gave her answers to why her body was breaking down. One of my sole purposes in getting into this work is finding the underlying cause of why your body's breaking down and what you can do to start moving your health forward. And so giving people the physiology to understand why their body's breaking down encourages people to reach deeper in giving them a tool to start moving their health forward. If Aristotle said you can name a thing, you can control a thing. So today we're talking stress, and stress has all kinds of different shapes and forms. And so this is what is it? What does stress look like for you? And so we want to see if we can get more information out into people's hands on how to live better, be better through supplementation, through stress management. We're going to talk some about these tools as the show, continues to unveil.
Yeah, stress, I guess it looks different for different people. For me, it just feels like there's too much going on. You don't even know where to start. And where do I start first? There's too much. I'm just being buried and can't breathe.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that, when people come in, they have to first learn to assess the stress. Where is it that their stress level load is on a 0 to 10 scale? If we were to be honest with ourselves and not be, arrogant or egotistical or too prideful to ask for help and to admit, where we're at and say, you know what, I am, stressed. I am overwhelmed. I am confused and worried about, tomorrow. This is step one, is acknowledging, that there is a stress present, whether real or, unrealized or that's lurking in the shadows. We can all, ignorance is always bliss, but sometimes we have to face the facts and we have to kind of figure out like how are we gonna roll through this.
Yeah.
And so part of what I wanted to talk about today is how the immune system and how the body's cellular system is affected by stress. And people don't realize all the different ways that stress takes root and takes hold in our lives. And I just was reading through one of these journal articles, and it was talking about neurotransmitters are disrupted via stress. Anxiety that leads to depressive states is all a neurotransmitter down regulation. You don't produce as much neurotransmitters for healthy thinking whenever you're running from the grizzly bear. And so the grizzly bear is a metaphoric term for whatever is a stress to you. It could be your job. It could be that you don't have a job. It could be the fact that you're stuck at home trying to figure out how to do the homeschooling thing. It could be that you're still confused on, what to eat. I mean, there's many different types of stress. So, like, if you've got symptom patterns in your body, you've got stress in your body. Mm-hmm. You've got inflammation in your body. And so recognizing, like, where you're at on that stress zone, you've got to take into consideration, all right, what are all the different facets of stress? You've got physical stress. That is like I'm working too much, or in this case, maybe even physical, like I'm stir crazy. I have an untapped energy that I can't put out there, and maybe it's good. Maybe we need the rest. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I know that many people are physically feeling the stress in their bodies because they're just through worry and how worry through the mind. So we have mental stress coming in behind that physical overworked nature. Now we've got this mental anguish that we're dealing with day in and day out. And the mental stress comes in many shapes and sizes too. It could be fear, doubt, worry. It could be things from the past that are haunting us. The fear of failure. What does life look like in the future? Things we can't control. And then you've got biochemical stress. Biochemical stress is that for which how are we feeding our body? How are we nurturing our tissues and our cells? And how are we making our body more whole and complete so it functions like God created it to function? When you realize that is where you can affect like the body positively or negatively, I think that people start waking up to the conversation of, oh, I am a little bit, responsible state that if I don't feel right, if I don't feel good, I need to do something. And so what you eat will always be an important conversation to have, no matter what type of stress load you're under and wherever you're at on that stress scale.
Wow.
And so, people coming in, always, we've got immune challenges. As you know, people are still dealing with allergies. People are dealing with endocrine issues, hormone hot flashes. You can't sleep at night. And these are all biochemical symptom patterns of a underlying stress in their body that's biochemical. So when we look at stress, we look at you in the effect that you could show up as an immune patient, you could show up as a depressed patient, you could show up as a digestive patient. I mean, stress literally has an effect on all cellular activities. They've shown that high levels of stress for more than 30 days can cause atrophy of the brain. So you've heard the old saying that, you don't use it, you lose it. Well, what if you use it to a point of destruction? Like the body doesn't have time to rest, recover, and heal, so it can't keep up with the workload. It's like going into some sort of, brain debt every day, and the brain can't keep up with that either. And so we've got two sides of the spectrum. We've got, the healthy levels of stress that people go through. That's called hormesis, and hormesis is a term that we all need healthy levels of stress to work through our day-to-day challenge. Challenge is good.
Mm-hmm.
Laying on a beach sounds good right up until you waste away, because an idle brain does nothing for you. Like, you need some kind of stressor. We all have gravity as a stress, but we've got to engage in that thinking process. And that thinking process helps to create a change in the way we formulate new ideas and to come up with solutions to challenges and how we're going to move forward. And I think really it can start with, where do we start in dealing with the stress response? And we start with, are you sleeping well at night? If you're not sleeping, you're not healing. And if you're not getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep, which everybody really should be getting at this point. I mean, nobody's got to get up early and beat rush hour traffic. And with all the Zoom calls and the video conferencing going on, people should be able to make it to their 8 o'clock meeting. I mean, even if they got their suit and tie on from the waist up, you know what I mean? And then, behind that, which we can talk more about sleep, because sleep is such a vital part of managing and handling stress. You need adequate mineral capacity for stressors to be managed. So if you don't have enough minerals, you won't go into a deep enough sleep state to get your 4 cycles of sleep and to repeat those processes at an hour-and-a-half interval all through the night.
I got a question about sleep. What if you have a newborn baby? Because they like to wake up every couple of hours.
They sure do.
I have one at home right now.
Yeah.
With my wife.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And that is the best. They're a joy and a challenge all in the same breath, and especially because they're like little night owls. They like to be up at night. They have short, eating cycles, so they have to eat repetitively, and it really takes a toll on a mom. It really takes a toll on sleeping in the same room. So one of the things that we encourage there is to make sure that mom has adequate minerals and that mom is eating healthy, clean food. So when it comes to diet, typically the things that cause colic or upset children is they have a very fragile digestive tract. It's never been used. You said 20 days old, right? Or inside of 2 weeks, I think. And so your baby being such new, the digestive tract hasn't been established fully yet. So it's still learning how's it going to process, its environment via diet. That's a new terrain that the baby's developing. So mom really wants to eat clean if she's breastfeeding fully. And whenever mom starts eating clean, you'll start being able to see, the baby seems calmer and more rested whenever the baby sleeps. It doesn't mean that baby's necessarily not going to sleep through the night. I mean, some people get that luxury. I didn't get that luxury. Our babies were up all the night long, screaming, hollering, and working through stuff like that. And I feel like we were eating well, so sometimes it doesn't work out. So then we kept looking for solutions. And so we would use things like, Coral Legend. It's a coral calcium and a magnesium product that we just take a little fingerful and just dab inside the cheeks, because we also recognize that baby is rapidly developing neurologically, fundamentally, through their bodies, and those bones are starting to elongate. I mean, every week it seems like the baby grows out of a new size clothes. What didn't fit last week fits this week. And so the babies are elongating. Well, to elongate bones requires a truckload of nutrients, specifically calcium, magnesium, and essential fatty acids. So mom's got to have a strong, rich fat diet, good avocado, coconut oil, fish oil, things, tuna oil, fats from fish, olive oil, and, and putting these things into her body. These are the carriers for good minerals. So good fats are good mineral delivery mechanisms. They're taxi service for your vitamins and minerals. And so then we observe. And if that doesn't work, then we start making sure that the child is having a bowel movement every day, because obviously we got to get y'all sleeping again. We got to get that kid relatively restful, so that y'all are restful.
I feel like they also have to learn to use the restroom. Like, how do you work stuff out and stuff?
Yeah, sure. And that digestive tract and or urinary tract, I mean, these things haven't really been in full operation the way we see it and take for granted. I mean, that is a internal learning that the kid is experiencing and going through, and we've got to be open to the process. They say it takes 24 to 25 months for a digestive tract to fully develop. And so a fully developed digestive tract is something that just takes time to work through. And so the clean mommy diet leads to a cleaner transition for the baby. As the baby is developing, then the diet can become more robust and more adventurous. So I think a simple diet for mom in the infancy, newborn stage is as important as, teaching our youth to eat well and to not overindulge in the wrong foods in their youth, and they're learning how to make decisions, how to say no to foods that they know is poisonous to them. But most people still today, they think that soda's okay. People think that bread and sugars and pastries and candies are okay in moderation. And really and truly, the moderation conversation needs to be had. I mean, we're overindulging. But these all lead to biochemical stress that cause a degeneration effect in the immune system. Sugar in and of itself can rob the vitality and or efficiency of your immune system for up to 8 hours. So some people say it can even paralyze. So a cookie and a Coke, for example, a common snack that people would consume, could rob 8 hours of immune activity.
That weakens your immune system?
It paralyzes the immune system in that quantity. So weakens is kind of an understatement. Paralyze helps you kind of realize, I can't move, I can't function. Therefore, I'm sitting here watching somebody rob me, but I can't do a thing about it. I'm paralyzed. The body feels the same way. I see the bug, I see the virus, I see the this, the that, and I can't do anything about it.
You know what's interesting about that? So during times like this, we were talking about, okay, alcohol and marijuana sales and everything else goes up, but what else does is like ammunition sales and firearms.
Yeah.
But people are trying to prepare themselves. I'm going to be able to protect my house. I don't know what happens, the government, this and that. But you don't necessarily think about your body protecting it from paralyzing your immune system, or, allowing yourself to get sick during this time, or even if you had like a tickle in your throat, it could be the common cold and you're thinking the worst case scenario. But that's the last thing that you're thinking about doing is like, I'm going to make sure I put the right things in my body so I protect my body, not just my house with getting firearms and ammo.
Absolutely. And think about it. If you are prepared for, the apocalypse and you've got all your ammunition and everything, but you're sick to your stomach, your vigilant factor radar and antenna is going to be down.
Yeah.
So you're going to sleep harder because you're sick. And then you're still potentially, in a precarious situation. I'm using this as a metaphor for like how the body, protects itself, because the sixth sense, the intuition of the body is that if your neurotransmitters are right in your digestive tract, they're right in your brain. But if your inflammation numbers are up in your digestive tract and therefore anxiety is higher than normal, then guess what happens? You start to have a decline in your sixth sense and your ability to respond to situations or to recognize situations that may be a potential threat to you.
Right now it's 9:23. This is KHEA Radio.com, 99.5 FM. This is Kickstart. My name is Gardy. I'm hanging out with Dr. Aaron Chapa every Tuesday for the rest of our lives as we spread the good news of health and nutrition and how you can live a better life, maybe without the use of medication and having to live on that forever. There's a better way.
And I truly love giving people alternatives to drugs and surgery. That's what Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center stands for. We truly believe that no matter what ailment you're dealing with, no matter what level of stress you're dealing with, knowing that there's a place that understands the power of choice, that you have the power to make a good food choice, a good drink choice, a good lifestyle choice, and that goes to, if this is a time where you've been one that has been stressed out and just being able to go out and maybe enjoy your family in the backyard or to play games or to play with dolls or whatever, the case may be. Remember, our kids don't really know. They know that there's a coronavirus. I mean, they can't go to school, for crying out loud. They get it that life is different, but they don't really maybe appreciate, what you and your spouse are going through. And man, hopefully the way you handle the stress is not in front of them always. Maybe they need to see some back and forth. It teaches them that that's okay and that's normal and how that y'all work through it. But man, if it gets into a position, like, how are you going to deal with that? So like, when going back to where we started, if the conversation is looking at your stress as a 7, 8, 9, or a 10 on a 0 to 10 scale, is there something that you can do to offset that stress? And there is. We use a little trio of cocktail in our office called Adaptogen, Mintran, and Neviton, and we feed the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are your stress management system. The ashwagandha and the holy basil regulate the efficiency of cortisol production and make sure that your drains for excessive cortisol can be drained off so that you don't have a long-term catabolic hormone that is destructive to your immune system, to your cells, to your brain cognition, your mental clarity, and your ability to think through processes. Whenever cortisol levels are high, we've got to be able to drain that excess hormone off. Well, high chronic stress, long-term stress, can cause the cortisol levels to continue to rise. We've got to get those under control. We've got to get those under control via the diet. When your blood sugar, crashes and you go eat comfort food or sugary foods because you're stressed and you find yourself, that's a trigger for you. That's causing an accelerated rise in blood sugar, aka insulin. And now that long-term insulin levels can create a biochemical stress that will cause inflammatory levels of cortisol to rise. So now we've got another dual facet here where, cortisol from your adrenal glands is coming into play, disrupting your overall health situation. And so the adaptogen can have that impact on the adrenals and help heal them, nourish them, and bring them back on cue. Then the Mintran is basically minerals. They're God's minerals. They're tranquilizers for our brain. Sometimes our brain can run right off a cliff with, negative thinking, fearful thinking, bad thinking, wrong thinking, illogical thinking, irrational thinking. And so we use things like Mintran when the mind is racing or we have irrational fears. We take Mintran to pump the brakes, if you will, on the intensity of the brain running with those thoughts. And literally within minutes, you can get an effect with Mintran and adaptogen at your side. And then for neurological tolerance, it's called a nervine tonic. It's called Neviton. And Neviton is 4 different herbs that help to regulate the tolerant factor of brain function. Like, how well will your brain function in times of stress? How much can you handle before you start feeling the effects of stress? And so this is a great way when the stress hits a 7, 8, 9, or a 10. I have patients take doses in hourly or 2-hour or 3-hour doses, depending on when they feel the ebb and the flow of that stress overtaking them. And that just means that their body is a little bit in a state of decline, and they can influence that immediately with supplementation. And they can obviously, rest on my next favorite scripture, Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart, your mind, and your soul through Christ Jesus. Praise be the Lord. And so we can start thinking again. I was sitting in a seminar one time, and this medical doctor was talking about how he handles stress. It was probably one of the coolest stress talks that I ever got to watch display, and I've always wanted to be able to repeat how he did it, and because he was really fancy. How he took all the stresses on one paper, and then he cut the paper in the middle, and I don't know, it worked out beautifully. How he was talking about the left and right side of the brain and how we think through stress, but that's what his message was: is that stress causes our body to go out of the cortical brain into our primal brain and our brainstem. And in the primal brain is what we call reflexive activity. It's a reactionary activity. And so when we have these reactionary responses to life, we make typically bad decisions. So decisions made in haste are never really good decisions. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
And so we've got to ask ourselves a question. When our stress hits a 7, 8, 9, or a 10, okay, so now we've got some supplemental intervention. We've got some prayers scriptures we can quote. And then we've got to ask ourselves the question, Aaron, how do you want to feel right now? That simple question. How do you want to feel? How do I want to feel right now? Ask yourself that. And what's your response? Give me a response in the feed, and hopefully you want to feel good. You want to feel joyful. You want to feel hopeful. You want to feel the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. We want to feel these things to help us navigate the terrain. And this is how I use the GPS, God's perfect scriptures, to navigate through the challenges of life. But that simple question, how do I want to feel right now? Because I feel stressed, acknowledge it. I feel this. I feel overwhelmed. I feel fearful. I feel doubt. I feel worry. But how do I want to feel? I want to feel love. I want to feel joy. I want to feel alive. I want to feel hopeful. And what happens is when you ask the question, you're pulling neurologically yourself out of your primal brain back into your cortical brain where you can think. And the thinking brain is where we start getting control over how we're dealing with the current stresses that seem to be overwhelming us. And then we go into what we call a responsive state. Responsive state is a state where you can think through rationally your situations. God gave you a brain and expects you to use it. That's what I was taught. And so when we go through these times of worry, doubt, fear, nobody thought a month ago we would be in this position. We were going along just fine, and then here we are. We're all dealing with this, and we're all going through it at the same time. This is, God really gave me some foresight to this because the last, 90 days, maybe the last 120 days, have been really seeing not just myself, but definitely myself, but people going through all kinds of situations unrelated to health, walking by faith. And that I was like, wow, like everybody's walking by faith, and I'm like, this is interesting. And so here we are. Everybody is gonna walk by faith, and those of us that have faith, that will prevail. We're gonna get through this. I mean, I saw a little meme the other day that 1918 Spanish flu. They had signs posted, churches and they called it movie halls. Any place of entertainment was all shut down for a time. It was a citywide ordinance, and so there was a season in our recent past, 100 years ago, where we went through this very same thing. And I hope that history is not repeating itself, because that doesn't give us anything to look forward to in 2028 through 32.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily need to go there. Yeah, so I'm okay not to repeat all of history, but when stuff happens, I hope that we can learn and say, all right, well, what's the difference between 1918 and 2020? 100 years later, we have better supplemental technology. We have better resources where we can still get good messaging out to people and serve them well through video conferencing, through this radio station, for example. So, God bless KHEA Radio and Abundant Life Church for, still having a venue space where we can get a message of hope and faith to people that are looking and that need, because there's so much negative energy out there. I was talking to Pastor Hallam just last week, and he said something that's very encouraging to all of us. And if you haven't tuned into his 7 to 7, 7 and 7, he does 2 talks a day, 7 and 7, 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. that are really fantastic and encouraging. But he said that America needs to be careful that we don't adopt the spirit of fear. It's okay to be vigilant. It's okay to be alert and aware and cognizant of the state of affairs that we're all walking in. But let's not get lost in the spirit of fear, because fear is of the devil. The fear will cause more decline in your ability to outwit the devil than anything. Fear is false evidence appearing real. So any fears that you have about your health, about your wealth, about this current circumstance that we're in, how we're going to get through it, rest assured, this too shall pass. We will get through to the other side, and life will come back into some level of normalcy. And my hope is that you walk away knowing, okay, I've got some tools. Supplementation is important. What I eat and put in my body is important. What'd you eat for breakfast this morning? Did you eat cereal? Did you eat bagels? Did you eat toast or biscuits and just lean on the carbs? Or are you recognizing that you're more sedentary than you normally are? You can't go to the gym. Outdoor activities is seemingly, they're even closing down recreational tracks and stuff like that.
Parks, the beach, yeah, it's all closed.
And so getting out is a little bit harder still. And I mean, we haven't gone on full level lockdown here in Houston, but who knows if they're gonna call that shot. And so we still got to get active, but we've got to make sure that you're not putting in a bunch of empty calories that cause your body to feel the effect of a slow bowel, for example. You've got to assess your bowel system, because that is a biochemical stress. When your stress levels are high, your bowels don't run as well, and you don't digest as well. Therefore, you don't absorb as well. So if you're putting in empty calorie foods, those empty calorie foods oftentimes get stuck in your system. They backlog the liver, and then toxins get stored in fat cells, and the fat cells can swell up 7 times the size of normal and cause you to start gaining weight, not feeling good. Or they can cause your brain to misfire, because your body loves storing toxins in the brain. Or the body can store these toxins in our joints, and now our body hurts. We're having cramps and aches, anxiety in our legs, our feet, our arms, our hands. And these are all things that we can pay attention to as check engine lights to assess the stress. I am feeling a little bit more sore this morning, or I've got a little bit of a headache going and brewing, or I've got this issue. I feel like I'm just kind of gaining weight. These are all check engine lights that I want you to be leveraging to assess the stress, and then just mentally ask yourself, what is reality? Like, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? And then how do I want to feel? And when you start asking good questions to yourself, and write it down in a journal, jot it down on a notepad, put it on sticky, whatever, but get it out of your head, because the pen it won't let you lie to yourself. Like if you truly wrote those questions down, how am I feeling? I'm stressed. I'm overwhelmed. Where is it on a 0 to 10 scale? I'm a 7. I'm an 8. I don't know. Whatever. It's high. It's beyond measure. You have no idea. I got it. So these are all things that people say. When you write these things down, when you confess that feeling, there's a sense of like freedom in that feeling, of a freedom of expression, and I think that we've got to recognize that that's important. And then you answer the second: how do you want to feel? And what happens is your body doesn't stuff those emotions into the cells. Feelings buried alive never die. It was the cover of a book that I've read many years ago, and it talks about how we hide anger and resentment inside of our body, and it shows up typically in a fatty liver, or shame and or self-image issues. We hide that in blood disorders in our spleen, or fear and turmoil and grief and high blood pressure, low energy in our kidneys, and anxiety and depression in our digestive tract due to irritation from either the food we're eating or the hormones that are in there that are disrupting the ability of those systems to work like they're supposed to. Sadness and grief found in the lungs, and we have lung issues, and we start dealing with these different aspects of our emotional state. Your body wants to get these emotions out, and if you stuff them, they could potentially manifest in some organ system malfunction. It could be asthma, could be wheezing, it could be air hunger, it could be digestive distress.
What's air hunger?
Like where you get kind of you have big sighs of like looking for air, like and whenever you might hear like a singer go through a burst of that because they missed their comma, if you will, or even myself, I tend to get on a word rant, and I'll just blow a bunch of words and I won't take a breath, and then you might hear that breath, but that's not the same as air hunger. Air hunger is like anxiety a lot of times will cause changes in breath and breathing, and we'll start seeing your body temperature go up, your heart rate go up, your breathing change, and when you find that you feel the pressure in the chest and you can't get that deep sigh of relief, that would be a kind of a idea of what air hunger looks like.
Okay, I got you. So that's just a kind of like a check engine.
It's a
light
check
and
engine
a warning.
light. That's right. And so again, something that we can work with.
Mm-hmm. Right now it's about 9:40. This is KHEARadio.com, 99.5 FM. This is Kickstart. I'm Gardy. If you're watching on Facebook, feel free to share this out. If you have any questions, let me know. I know I asked a question in the Facebook comments, and I asked people, I said, are you feeling stressed? And then Dr. Chapa asked, how are you feeling? How do you want to feel? And so we had some comments that came in. This one is from Melissa. He said, I'm actually less stressed during this time. I'm thankfully still working, so finances aren't a concern, but I have so much more time to rest and take care of myself at home. And that's good news. And then she followed that up, and I'm trying to find that comment, but she said, hey, that she's grateful. And I know many people are not in this situation, so I'm very appreciative and grateful. And then here's another comment. This one's from Karen. She said, I'm not stressed, I'm bored. She said, no kids, laundry, dishes, and cooking. How many walks a day? Taking a lot of walks, and she's really not just able to talk to anyone. So how are you feeling? If you're watching on Facebook, let us know, sound off, and then let us know, how do you want to feel? Maybe you are feeling happy and peaceful, and that's how you want to maintain. Maybe you're feeling stressed and you want to feel better. Let us know.
And I would say that to the point that when your to-do lists are empty and you're like kind of caught up and you don't know what to do, man, I'm reading a book right now called Sacred Pace, and it is a fantastic book about like how we can slow down and still be very productive. And if you feel like all your, I think she had also mentioned that she's got all of her friends are in quarantine, so she can't really help anybody. Hey, man, drop some bone broth. Or I know she likes to make different home goods and stuff like that. Take a SCOBY to somebody and leave it on their doorstep so you don't have to interrupt their quarantine. But there's always ways. I mean, phone still works, FaceTime still works, and these video chatting experiences are a new way of life these days. And we're doing phone consults with patients every day. Last week, this week, it's kind of a more than normal. It's a little different, but I mean, it still works, and people we're able to ship stuff out and get stuff to them, but give them ideas on how to deal with sick kids, constipation issues. Again, there's always things we can be doing more of. So we just gotta be mindful. Read a book. Let's maybe embark on some education plan that we've been wanting to divulge into, but we haven't had quote unquote the time because we were too busy. One of my friends, Grandmaster Garza, says busy is being under Satan's yoke. And I think that a lot of times we we don't realize that, busyness is a form of distraction. I'm busy chasing schedules. I'm busy, so busy I can't even cook right. I can't. I eat out too much, and I know restaurants definitely need us to be supporting them, but also for the people that haven't had quote unquote the time to cook. Man, get in the kitchen. Let's cook.
Speaking of Grandmaster Garza, it's his birthday today. So
Oh,
happy birthday, Grandmaster Garza.
Happy birthday to Grandmaster Garza. And he's a dynamo. He is a gem of a man for
Yes.
sure. So God bless you, sir. And I'm going to give you the holy nod,
Yeah. Yes.
And so the immune system is has billions and billions of cells, is all throughout our blood system, all throughout our tissues and organs. And we've got antibodies that we're producing that help fight off viruses and bacteria. We've got T cells that help our body, seek and destroy, bugs that don't belong, and they live everywhere in our body, everywhere from our thymus gland, which is just behind your sternum, which some people say is inefficient and not active after like 13 years old. I disagree with that. I think that might, just like any system slows down in production as it comes to a level of maturity. I think we have products in our office, Thymus PMG and Thymex, that I live on them. I mean, I take them daily because I want to stimulate this organ system. And if science says it is degenerating faster than I want it to, I want to nourish it and strengthen it so that my body's always producing natural killer cells and going out and defending me against those foreign invaders that I can't see, because I don't have the eyes to see what a virus looks like. I don't have the eyes to see what a bacteria looks like when it's on that lettuce leaf.
I can draw it.
Yeah, you probably
They have the little
Yeah, I know.
circle and it looks like a dog toy.
Yeah.
It's either green or red.
That's right. You're right. Good
Okay.
job, Vigardi.
Thank you.
You're so I love your simplicity. That's brilliant. And then, but then you've got your lymphatic system. The lymphatic system, whenever congested and clogged up, you will feel lymph nodes or drippy down the back of the throat in your neck, for example, could be swollen. I've had people with golf ball size, nodules on the back of their ear. And so I think that the lymphatic system is an underutilized system of detoxification that we can influence with things like Spanish black radish, garlic forte. These are products that we use, but I mean, you could just start eating raw garlic, and cayenne pepper will help mobilize your blood flow to go and increase the burning effect of these toxins out by doing thermoregulation. A lot of these bugs and viruses don't like hot temperatures. So that's why hot teas, I mean, they're saying like even with the coronavirus and the flu and all viruses don't like hot temperatures. You know what I mean? So you can leverage a lot of these home remedies that have been lost in the information age, and you can drink more of these things, and you can help rid your body of these excess toxins. It opens up and dilates your lymphatic system. You can do rebounding at home to mobilize your lymphatics as a physical exercise to keep the lymph system moving. I've always said to patients that if I had the ability to reach in, grab hold of your lymphatic system, pull it out, pop it on a wall like a rug, then put it back in you, clean, in 5 minutes all your ailments would be gone. That's how effective and amazing your lymphatic system is to your body. But the problem is you can't, because it's like it is as complex as your blood circulation system. And so looking at the lymph system as a means of cleansing, these tools, we have homeopathic remedies for people that don't like swallowing pills. You can put in their water. Lymphinest is that product that help just drain these lymph tissues. And this is a good time when we're not stressed out, when we can focus on regenerating our health. So at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we're helping people realize, hey, this is still the time, if ever the time, to take care of your stress needs, but to take care of just your body in all these different angles of your supporting your immune system. And then you look at the spleen. This cleans out and regulates your blood. And we can go in and specifically overhaul the spleen. It gets rid of old, worn-out red blood cells. It's involved in producing more communication lines to your bone marrow to produce more red and white blood cells. And so the spleen is an important vessel. And even though in some people it's been removed, doesn't necessarily mean that was the right idea. That just means that their spleen got infected. And by the way, I was just reading a book that was, recently copyrighted 2002. It was originally in the 60s, and it talks about the different diseases of our history and our age from a biblical point of view. And it was talking about in one of the chapters, the first sentence was the exact verbiage that one of my mentors uses when I was sitting in his classes so many years ago, that infection is the burden of man. Every video game that I've ever played growing up, like the Oregon Trail specifically, everybody died of scarlet fever, rheumatic fever, or some sort of typhoid fever or an infection. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So infection is the burden of man. And so if we have a strong, healthy infection-fighting machine of a system and you build that, it isn't just something you have. It's something that you've got to maintain. So God gives you all these tools and gives you these resources, but it's up to you to learn how your body's operating and where it's working well. If you're chronically ill, if your kids are chronically infected with sore throat, tonsillitis, or earaches, that's not normal. It might be common, you know what I mean?
It shouldn't be, though.
But it's not common. It's it's not normal. It is common, but not normal. And it shouldn't be common. And if it is, that's an area where we can intervene. And then we go down into the bone marrow, and we can stimulate bone marrow. Get this. We can stimulate T-cell production, white blood cell, red blood cell through the bone marrow through something as simple as sesame seed oil. And we can upregulate the production of your immune responses by getting these tissues working like they're supposed to. So when stress attacks these systems, right? And again, stress, mental, physical, biochemical. When stress attacks these systems and slows them down, you've got to counter. You've got to re-strategize your approach, and you've got to get after it, and you've got to say, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. What are the resources and tools that I have in my tool bag? You know, I've always said, when in doubt, Congoplex it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you got a tickle in your throat, take Congoplex. If you can't get to the office, we'll ship you something. Ship you some. It should be in every medicine chest across the country for people, especially that travel, or people that have kids, or people that are, you know, just chronically immunologically challenged. And this is, you know, we're just going through how stress affects each one of these organ systems and makes it more slow and sluggish, and it causes it to decline and therefore fall asleep, if you will, and then you're more vulnerable to reoccurring infections. Every time you get on an antibiotic, for example, you have a 6 times chance of getting a reoccurring infection in the body because of the damage it does to the digestive tract, which is the floating immune system. Isn't that beautiful? The digestive tract, 25 plus feet of tissue, of a tube that regulates how you digest and what you can absorb. You can eat the best food on the planet and not absorb any of it and still be starving inside. You could eat the worst food and not be able to get it out, and it putrefy and rot in your tissues and cause all kinds of neurological decline or digestive decline. And so we can mobilize and clean these tissues. And so 80% of every disease process that a person goes through or deals with, every symptom of even something as slight as a headache or menstrual cramps that are unbearable, all comes down to a dirty bowel. If we can get the bowels clean, so just because you poop every day doesn't mean that you do, that you're clean. It means that you have potentially a dirty bowel syndrome, where you should be a nice full, you know, empty tube, but yet your tube is 50% clogged up, and you've got 15 meals caked up behind it that can't get out. That's just rotting, waiting its turn to get out sooner rather than later. It's getting claustrophobic in there. It's starting to come out, and it's going to come out in all kinds of different ways. Through your skin, through the form of acne. It's going to come out through your sinuses. It's going to come out, you know, through your lungs. It's going to come out through blood pressure signs and symptoms. It's going to come out through joint pain, joint swellings. I mean, it's going to come out through all kinds of ways. And so recognizing that symptoms that you're experiencing are just check engine lights of something else going on. And stress is a number one silent killer. It destroys the heart more than we can ever know or imagine. And it causes, you know, more stroke issues for people due to the high velocity of blood flowing through small, you know, capillary beds because of adrenal overload, the adrenaline levels being too high. And this then leaves us vulnerable to the aftermath of just any old pathogen coming along and saying, hey, this looks like a nice host, weak and fragile. I can just come in here and run the roost and take over. Remember, that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says you're to subdue the creepy crawly thing, not the creepy crawly thing subdue you. And that's where, I really am, on my soapbox trying to get people to realize you have the ability to strengthen your body. You have the ability to give your body tools and resources to fight off infection and to win this fight and not come down with this, virus or any infection for that matter. I mean, or for allergies, or whatever that is that you're dealing with. Because again, we're still in the middle of allergy season. People are still dealing with the spring fever,
Yeah, it didn't go away just because we're dealing with the coronavirus and everything else. Allergy season's still here?
It did not. You're right. It sure didn't. And it didn't get the memo. I wish we would have just gone ahead and sent out.
They canceled everything else.
They canceled everything else. We got to cancel spring, folks, and so, stress has a direct effect on a multitude of tissues in our body. And so it can, like I said earlier, it affects your sleep patterns. It can affect your heart function, your digestive function. And I don't want anybody that's hearing my voice to be a statistic of having to reach for fake substitutes for relief, like alcohol or drugs, or even unnecessary medications that people might find themselves addicted to. I know stress can be high for many and is high for many. I know that there's worry and fears and concerns. Hey, I get all of that, and I'm not making light of any of it. I want people to recognize that the reason I speak and feel comfortable on this show is because I have resources and tools in my tool bag to help you fight the good fight and to get through, to get over if you get any immune challenge, and your body wants to heal. I mean, I think it's fascinating when a person goes through their first, viral or bug bacterial attack and they win. They go, I won. This is the first time I've ever won a fight against a urinary tract infection or whatever the infection is with non-antibiotics. The antibiotics destroy the gut lining. Why do we want to do that continually? You should use those when there is nothing left of an option. I mean, I look at the history of antibiotics, and antibiotics are, a 70-year-old repurposed solution that isn't a very good solution. It hasn't changed. It hasn't evolved. It hasn't gotten, better technology because it's just an atomic bomb. But when the digestive system is weak and broken, you will find that your ability to manage stress goes down as well. It's like your fuse is dictated on how fragile your digestive tract is. So the more fragile your digestive tract is, the more fragile you are emotionally. And so, we look at stress having an effect on blood and heart functions, on stress management and how it can suppress your immune system and how it can disrupt your digestive tract in many different ways, increasing your risk for diseases. And so we want to give people solutions to fighting the risk of disease. And people are open. People understand the verbiage. I listen to their story. I hear where their body's breaking down, where it's starting to get backed up, and I address that. And a lady came in yesterday. She goes, I can't believe every time I do a bowel cleanse, I have better hormone cycles every month. And I had another lady last week. She goes, it was verbatim, but it was a different symptom. She goes, I can't believe every time I do a bowel cleanse, my back pain goes away. Dr. Chapa, are you saying that my back pain could be a cause of bowel toxicity? Like something stuck in the bowel that's causing a level of inflammation that's pressing on the posterior aspects of my body and hurting my spine and causing nerve and disc inflammation? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so, and that's what we're working on, is keeping the system moving. You don't want anything to get stuck in there. And when stress levels go up, things get stuck more easily.
So we have a couple minutes left. I think we got about four minutes left. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. If you're watching on Facebook, thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and comment. If you haven't yet, go ahead and share this stream out, and then let me know. Are you living stressed? and how do you want to live? If you're listening in your car, or maybe you have the KHEA radio app downloaded, thank you so much. You can always go back and watch all of these episodes on YouTube, on our KHEA radio YouTube, and then you can also go back and check out the archive on Facebook as well. You know, Dr. Chapa comes in every Tuesday spreading a message of health and wellness and living without drugs and surgery, and so it's no different. Even though there's a whole different atmosphere in the world today, it's still kind of preaching the same message, and it works.
Yeah, and it is something that I'm proud of. Like I remember looking back as a kid wondering. I maybe even asked an adult one time. I said, how do I pick a profession? And he goes, well, you got to just pick something that you think is relevant to the majority of people, that addresses a need of many people, and that is that has a longevity of that will last that'll last a career. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't really help me, but okay. and so, but it did. Now looking back, it's almost like the seed had to be sown to grow into something, right? The tomato seed is useless until it gives me tomatoes. You know what I mean? I wanted to go do this thing. I wanted that answer, but whatever. God's got his way of talking through people, and that was a very wise piece of advice looking back, conceptually. And I found that, for me, I wanted a profession or a job where I could work on my feet, that I wasn't stuck behind a desk. That was what Aaron wanted, I wanted a job that was unique and different every day. And Lord knows, I work on my feet, and it is different every day. And I wanted a job that engaged people. And every chiropractor that I ever met, I was at a banking drive-through as a banker, thinking I wanted to be a banker, polar opposite of what I wanted, other than dealing with people. But it was mundane, and same thing every day. And I was sitting behind a desk, so definitely not the majority of what I was after. But it was a means to an end and a good stepping stone. I learned a lot of great things. I met a lot of great people that I'm still friends with, and some that are even patients of mine, as crazy as that is. I look back and I go, wow, every chiropractor that ever came through the bank, and there's like 3 of them, they all they were happy in the drive-through. I mean, you ever gone through a drive-through and you could, or just watch people in general, like how when you catch them off guard, like what do they look like? Do they look, frowny and frumpy and not happy?
Yes.
Yeah. But then you catch those ones that even when they're alone in the car, they're jamming. They're somebody cuts them off and they just keep trucking. They no water off their back. And you can just see that they have a air about them. They have a joy, a spring in their step that is almost like, you want to go talk to that person. It's like attractive. Mm-hmm. It's like you're magnetized to that. And so when I kept going down that road, and I started hanging out with chiropractors, and I started to see that they enjoyed life. And I think it's because when you mobilize the spine, when you are taught to eat better and to fuel the system better, form, function, and fuel kicks in, and that model of better form, better function, with better fuel leads to a better life. And people are just naturally in a better state of space. They feel good, they can live good, and they can be a voice of influence and blessing to people. And at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, I want people to see Jesus in me and my staff and my team, all the clinicians that work with us to help push this vision of getting sick people well without drugs and surgery forward. And it takes a team. There's no way that Aaron can do it by himself. He needs a tribe of people to surround him to get the mission done. And Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we work with our staff, and we want our employees to be in a healthy, happy working environment, and that isn't laden with stress. We strive to try to address the challenges that can come in any job. Because there are jobby things that have to be done. That aren't necessarily always the fun part of the job. But every part of the working vessel needs all the gears turning. And, I'm thankful for my staff. I'm thankful that God has allowed us to stay, in business in this time, and that I'm in a profession that is relevant and very much needed to the masses always. And one thing's for sure, with the amount of sugar that people consume, and people are consuming, the carb foods, the refined foods, the additives, the alcohols, the processed food, all the junk that people are putting in their body, I hate to say, it's job security for me. Like I have a profession that is relevant and is timely and in need for people at all stages of life, at any junction in time and history, that will always be something powerful for people to reach for. So, I am thankful beyond measure. So if you do have need, if you do have health ailments, challenges going on in your body, please give us a call. 281-554-8600. You won't regret it. You'll be thankful. You are in for a treat. So God bless you all. God bless, and have a great and wonderful day.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. All right, Facebook. Hey, y'all have a good day. Try and spread some positivity today. Don't drive yourself and your family crazy inside the house. Maybe, I don't know, try something new. Try something like go outside and play in the backyard, or I don't know, any other ideas, because that's pretty much where I capped out.
Oh, dude, me and my neighbor the other day, like my son, him and his grandfather went and played golf, and the neighbor was bored to tears, and all my daughters were at my mother-in-law's, and so my wife and my neighbor's parents sat out on the front driveway, and him and I played wiffle ball, and we basically
from driveway to driveway,
pretty much. But thankfully we're friends with Mr. Leonard across the street, and so he was okay with wiffle balls hitting the top of his roof.
Yeah.
Because that was the home run if we could get it that far.
Oh yeah.
But it was so much fun. I'm totally like, dude, that was like.
You wouldn't have tried that. You wouldn't have tried that otherwise.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, there's no way I would have. But I'm telling you, it was dynamo. So get you a wiffle ball and go play some wiffle ball.
I actually have a whole bag, and I have been playing wiffle ball.
Yeah.
But my daughter, so she's 3, and she wants to pitch, and so I don't know. It's funny. So I'm the one hitting. I'm like, shouldn't this be the other way around?
That's right. Because you can throw better and more consistently.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? She'll give you a run for your money. She's gonna throw them high, throw them low, throw them inside, outside, all which ways, so you can keep the bat swinging. And she goes, "Whoa, cool, Daddy."
Yeah.
His hand-eye coordination still got it.
Sometimes.
She
has some heat, man. She's throwing the heater.
That's right.
So, all right, y'all be blessed. Have a good day. You can still share this out. Maybe even go and comment through. I know Dr. Chapa goes back, and he'll comment as well whenever he's able. So y'all be blessed. Have a good day.